Are you a homemaker who is struggling with your business and don't know what to do next so as to grow your business? Then today we have with you Preeti Majumdar, who is a baker and started with her home business and then flourished into a big business. So she is also an author, a coach, a TED speaker, and a fellow at Goldman Sachs Institute. So let's welcome Preeti Majumdar and have a talk to understand how can you grow your business to the next level. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast by Smiles Unplugged. Today, we have a person, I don't know how to introduce her. So, when I first met her, she was a baker. But before that, she was into a corporate world. So, वहाँ से उनकी जर्नी शुरू हुई. She left that world. She moved out. She became a baker. वहाँ से she became a female entrepreneur. वहाँ से LinkedIn coach. वहाँ से TEDx speaker, Goldman Sachs fellowship, author, and I don't know what all things she's into. Let's meet her. Today we have with us our very own Preeti Majumdar. Let's understand. The first question from her is, Preeti, अचानक ये शिफ्ट आप कॉर्पोरेट में थे and then from that corporate world to a baker.
Thank you so much for inviting me today to Smiles Unplugged. I really feel honored that you chose me to be a part of this podcast. It wasn't planned to begin with, okay? So I had joined corporate because I came from a very typical South Indian family where we were expected to have steady jobs with a salary and stuff like that. So I worked for the ICICI group for almost 10 years, and then came a time when I had my baby. So I actually thought of taking a break because, I wanted to enjoy that time with my daughter. And the idea was not to get back to work at all at that time. It wasn't even a sabbatical, it was just a break. I think when you're young, no, but that is an advantage to you that you don't think far too ahead in the future. You just want to be there. So while I was, enjoying my motherhood like all new mothers, I started creating goodies for my daughter, making chocolates, making cakes, and I soon realized that a lot of my neighbors whom I was sharing with, they started actually asking me to make more and more for them. And I picked up a few hobby classes in chocolate making and stuff like that. And I said, genuinely have interest in it. So my mother is really a very good cook, and thanks to her genes, I have the culinary instincts in me. So I said, okay, let me pursue this. I kept on continuing to learn more and more about cooking and baking and stuff. And when my daughter started full time school, I actually decided to go back and do a full time course for a year in Sophia's in baking. And then it was no longer a home baking business because it grew to a point where my daughter would joke and say that this looks like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I said, okay, I can't handle this mess anymore. So my husband said, "Bhai, abhi kuch kar lo aap," because every day, we are busy making it look like a production house rather than a home. So I said, okay. So we found a store, and that's where we set up the cake shop. So it was something that was destined, I would say, to move into this journey. And I've always been interested in training. So when I actually started, I wanted to run classes for baking, chocolate making, which I did. And because it was a store, my husband said, why don't you set up a counter in the front to sell whatever you're making? So अच्छा चलो वो करना है तो एक कारीगर रख लेते हैं, वो कुछ भी बनाएगा उतना निकल जाएगा. What happened was another route taken by destiny where my retail counter just kind of boom, it just went viral at that time, how we would say it now. And I really saw that a lot of customers were returning back and we were having a lot of orders. And in the initial 5 years, we were probably the only cake shop around that area. So we got a lot of patronage from and they are still my clients actually now after completing 13 years. So that entrepreneurship journey also wasn't a chosen one. It just happened accidentally, but absolutely enjoyed that entire stint. And another thing I'd like to highlight here is that when we were working in the corporates, it wasn't a 9 to 5 job. So I worked in the IT enabled services industry where we would go to work middle of the night. We would have UK clients, US clients, and a lot of leaders who were there to guide us at that point in time. we were very lucky. They were like mentors. They were not bosses, So they would train us to think beyond our role. Even as employees, whichever client we had to own up for that, be accountable for the profitability of that client. And it was really, the shaping of my entrepreneurship journey was actually in those 10 years, is what I would say.
And when I mean, मुझे पता नहीं था 13 years हो गए. It's a big journey that you have been through. And I would also like you to speak to the audience कि ये नाम Choco Kids, it's a very unique name. How did you come to the conclusion कि मुझे ये नाम रखना चाहिए? And give us some background behind.
So my daughter, she has been the center of all my inspiration actually, and she didn't know how to say chocolates. So she'll say chocolates, chocolates. So that's how the name Choco Cakes came actually. And also the thought behind is it that I wanted to convey what my product is. So it was chocolates and cakes, and therefore the name Choco Cakes. That's how it came. So it the moment you look at it, you know that okay, it is something to do with chocolate, it's something to do with cake, and that's how that name was coined. To be very honest, yes.
मैंने यार introduction में ये miss कर दिया कि she is full of energy. I mean, where do you get this energy from?
Honestly, full of energy in the sense is that my inspiration is my father and whatever he has done, and other people around me, and my team, my friends, my colleagues in nature. So I think the idea is I believe that we all come with a purpose, okay, and you do things in life because obviously, when you're growing up, you're learning, and then when you're in your initial days of your career, you're earning, and then in the last phase of your life, you want to give back, okay, you want to do something better. So for me, what motivates me is that I believe there is a purpose, and my mother didn't get the opportunity to educate herself. Okay, at an early stage of her life, she had to give up her education to take care of her siblings. So I felt that that's why I always told me, I don't want you to come into the kitchen. I want you to study, I want you to become something in life. Probably that's why I didn't realize that my culinary skill is probably the monetizing skill in me. But then today I feel that I owe it to her to make sure that I do something. I owe it to my team, I owe it to. So whenever you take time out, Jashan, from your family, from your near and dear ones, and you decide to do something, you talk about your passion, it is not just a selfish need for yourself. You could have spent that time with your family, you could have spent that time with your loved people, but you chose to do this as your passion. If you don't do justice to that, then you are compromising. Even let's look at it. If I didn't open that cake shop, there somebody else would have. If I have opened it today, it's my responsibility to make sure that I deliver the quality. I do that, and that keeps me energized. How can I do something new? How can I make sure that my clients keep coming back to me? How can I give more and more people to come and work with me, which will really help me grow my team and grow my business? Money is, of course, God has been kind. It flows. It's never been a problem for me, and I feel there is enough and more that you can do to earn money. But having a purpose and having a passion and being committed and disciplined to that is really important. So that is my energizing factor, in terms of following your passion, but doing it in a way that doesn't compromise on the delivery part.
So Preeti, I see that this energy that you have, you put it into everything, and I want to understand that when you're putting this energy, when you're delivering such good things, what was that breakthrough or what was that point when you thought कि भाई मुझे अब बेकिंग से चोको केक से नेक्स्ट एक और प्रोजेक्ट पे जाना है, and how did LinkedIn come into your picture, into your minds, and why did you start working on it?
So, Jashan, I think you'll agree, being a sole entrepreneur, business owner, while the business and working with your customers is very exciting, after a point, the learning needs to go on, right? I've seen you also continuously, making sure that you upskill yourself and do things. So for my business, I was continuously doing that as far as my Choco Kids cake shop is concerned. As a part of that, I started exploring how to set up a website, what to do social media marketing, and of course, the big COVID happened in our lives. At that time, the stores were closed and we were stuck at home. It was the bestest opportunity for me to actually learn something. So I joined a digital marketing course with Great Lakes University and went through that entire nuances academically to understand what digital marketing is. So my experience of marketing my business and then moving on to an online space and understanding what digital marketing is, the academics fundamentals got roped in. And while I was exploring all of that, I felt that there are a lot of channels that you can use for doing your marketing, which is Instagram or Facebook or your SEO, Google Ads, all of those things. But I felt that the most genuine way, if a business wants to grow, LinkedIn is the number one platform. So I did a lot of it and I tried to search online and I didn't really find any online courses or anything like that specifically for LinkedIn. So I started reading a lot, following a lot of creators who are digital masters in LinkedIn from abroad, following their podcasts, following their books, following their courses and things like that. And the more and more deeper I got, I decided, okay, let me make my LinkedIn as the base for growing. At that point, I already had a side hustle at where I was working with coaches and trainers. I was part of a group called Teachers and Leaders Academy, and we were working to see how we can help coaches and trainers. And I was part of a group which was doing this. And I thought LinkedIn would be the right route for me to connect with professionals. And I was amazed with what all you can do on LinkedIn and the very little effort that is required in it, how impactful it was. And it is, even today when I'm working with some of my clients, I find whether it is a B2B or B2C or somebody is trying to set up LinkedIn just to build their authority, online authority, the personal branding bit which is there. So I felt that LinkedIn actually as a piece is really more effective compared to an Instagram or a Facebook or any other channel that you would build in terms of SEO or websites. So I felt it's easy, it's implementable, it is understandable. You go to Instagram and people will start telling you that, oh, you need to make it entertaining there. And in the beginning, it was also told that यार ये youngsters का platform है. Suddenly, I started feeling very old. मैं बोली यार social media हमारे सामने पैदा हुआ है and you're telling me old. So I was like, okay, ये मुझे समझ आ रहा है. ये effective है, इसमें मुझे results दिख रहे हैं. So I started going deeper and deeper into LinkedIn, and I realized that how systematically, organically you can grow your brand on LinkedIn and how it really helps you to move to the next level. So moving from digital marketing and then choosing a niche of LinkedIn, this is how it really happened. I highly recommend all viewers who are there that don't underestimate the power of LinkedIn. While you do need to have a social media presence on other platforms, LinkedIn is your breakthrough. It is where you're going to connect with the real people. It is probably the only place where people will come searching for you. You have to go search for people through Instagram and Facebook and Google Ads, but LinkedIn is a place where people will come searching for you.
So I mean, not only the viewers, मुझे लगता है मैंने खुद ने ये learning लेनी चाहिए, wherein I myself don't focus so much on LinkedIn at all, nor for the clinic, nor for the academy, nor for the podcast. So thank you for this thing, and I'll also make sure कि LinkedIn पे कुछ होना चाहिए.
So I'll tell you that एक होता है जब हम मार्केटिंग कर रहे हैं हमारे बिजनेस के लिए ऑफलाइन, ओके, तो हम नेटवर्किंग ग्रुप्स ज्वाइन करते हैं. If you really want to do networking in your professional group online, LinkedIn is the platform. You can choose whom you want to get connected to. You can choose which groups you can be part of. In your niche, what is happening, you can actually understand. You can network with people through LinkedIn. You can reach out to people, and you don't, paid marketing on LinkedIn is very expensive. I don't recommend unless you're a big business. But for small business owners and medium business owners, LinkedIn actually is a very uh, good segment because there, once you have defined your ideal client profile, you can actually reach out to them. You can actually send messages, send connection requests, share content, come up with a sales funnel where you'll attract those people through LinkedIn. So yes, LinkedIn is a must. Any professional, any small or medium business. And I'll tell you, the magic of LinkedIn is that you start doing it. You just start doing it because it doesn't cost money. All you have to do is put your effort in terms of the content and connect. LinkedIn doesn't even require you to post daily. It's such a forgiving platform that it, even if you post once a week, it's fine. You just keep growing your network. You will start receiving inquiries in like 6 months to a year. People will reach out to you. Okay, so that is the magic of LinkedIn, I would say.
So taking it ahead from what you said, प्रीति, LinkedIn का जो ये algorithm है, I mean, people speak about algorithms for days. I would like you to specifically speak for LinkedIn का algorithm, and उसमें what did you find different that surprised you the most?
So I'll tell you, one of the good things about LinkedIn is that it is not a platform for entertainment. Unlike Instagram, where you bas tam jam dance once. I wouldn't want to be biased and say that Instagram is bad. It works. It works for, so it depends on your business a lot. For my cake business, obviously Instagram is a better platform. But on LinkedIn, for professionals, small business owners, the algorithm supports in a way that how you create content. So there are three pillars of LinkedIn. Okay, the first and the most important pillar is your profile. Your LinkedIn profile is probably, LinkedIn recognizes what you do, like you don't do for yourself also. You can actually record every achievement, every certificate, every course you did, every project you worked on. You can record your clients' testimonials, everything on your LinkedIn profile. So it becomes, I often say this to most of my clients that we are not in a habit of journaling our successes. If I ask you when was the last time you really had an achievement, you will sit back and think and you will probably wonder, Ki, when was it? But LinkedIn allows you to do that. So LinkedIn SEO is basically where your profile is like a landing page for yourself, where you can record each and everything about yourself, so that when people are searching for you, they will land on your profile. So that is one of the most important factors of the LinkedIn algorithm. The second pillar is, of course, content. Content is king. We all know that. Now, an important point I'd like to make here with AI and all the other things that are happening, it is not just important to create content. Today, it is very important to create good content. Don't just take a product image of Canva and just post it and say, "Ye hamara product and this is what we do." On LinkedIn, people expect you to talk about the stories behind the scenes, about your thought leadership, about what you think about the industry you're part of. It goes beyond actually just giving information about a product or service. And the more genuine you are, and the more crisp you are, the more effective you are in terms of writing that content, you can actually grab the attention of your viewers. The other advantage on LinkedIn is it's not necessary that you need to have short form content. Say you did a complete research about, say, root canal treatments, and it's a 25 long project. You can actually upload that PDF for people to read. Or you decided that, okay, let's just do a 30-second quick bite on how you can take care of, dental care for young children. That also will work. So there is no, restrictions in terms of how much, how long, or how intense your content is. You have audiences for long form content, more high quality content, and you have audiences even for smaller digestible kind of content that you create. I have this theory that your customers also sit on your Maslow's theory of needs, your hierarchy. So on LinkedIn, those top level, who are sitting on the right on top of the spiritual needs also are more. Look at it that there are all professionals, people who are in the corporate industry, people who are not looking at entertainment, people who want serious stuff to interact, some kind of, something that will tickle their intellectual capacity. So if you're creating that kind of content, use AI. I'm not saying that AI cannot be used, but let that be the route that you take. Look at the search intent of the people who are landing on LinkedIn and try to keep it as real as possible. Have that emotional aspect. So this is what the algorithm supports on LinkedIn. The third pillar of LinkedIn is, of course, how you grow your network. You can choose whom you want to connect. LinkedIn gives you multiple filters. Say you decide that you're looking at only connecting with doctors, or you're only deciding to connect with bankers, or you're deciding to connect only with people who are coaches and trainers. Choose whatever segment you want. You can even write up to the age, where they are located, what industry they are part of, what is their title. Say if they are in the corporate and they are in a purchase department, you can even boil it down to those fundamentals and start connecting with people. So what you're doing here is not randomly adding people who you think कि हाँ बल चलो फेसबुक में कॉमन फ्रेंड है इसके लिए डाल दिया, या मेरे फॉलोअर हो गया इंस्टाग्राम पे. यहाँ पे विद इंटेंट वी आर कनेक्टिंग एंड बिल्डिंग अ कम्युनिटी फॉर ourselves through our connections. So LinkedIn algorithm works if you have clarity of your business, who your target audience is, how you want to connect, and what's your sales funnel. If you are able to clearly define this, then LinkedIn will work for you. it does take time. Any kind of marketing efforts take time. So LinkedIn also takes time. But the advantage is the people who will connect to you are genuine people here. There is nobody who's just randomly, going to send you a message or something like that. And if they convert, they will stick to you because they have followed you through your journey, through your content, and then decided to work with you. So that entire trust building journey on LinkedIn is very genuine. So that's the algorithm of LinkedIn.
And say somebody who is completely invisible on LinkedIn and बहुत सालों से पढ़ा है profile, not doing anything with it, and suddenly one day says कि नहीं चलो I want to make this particular thing active and I want to make sure कि LinkedIn से I use the platform well and I get returns out of it. So what are the three things that this person should do in order to start getting results?
That's a very good question, Jashan. I think all of us have to understand that we are not born with all the information that we get. We learn on the process. So never too late to start. First point. Three things you can do. First, fix your profile. Okay, try to add all the details that you can. You might think, यार मैं स्कूल में कैंप में था उसके बारे में क्यों लिखना है, और मैं मेरे फ्री टाइम में क्रिकेट खेलता हूँ उसके बारे में क्यों लिखना है. But those become the talking points when you start connecting to somebody. Okay, so first is LinkedIn profile down to the T, the entire real estate that LinkedIn is giving you on your profile. If it says 200 characters, use those 200 characters, fill it up. Right from your personal information to your academic information to your qualification to your learnings, everything. That's the first thing you need to do. Second thing is be very clear on whom you want to connect and start sending out 15-20 connection requests daily. Okay, it's something that you have to do religiously and say that चलो let me, जैसे हम नेटवर्किंग करने जाते हैं, अगर किसी ग्रुप में भी जाते हैं तो हम यही सोचते हैं ना कि रोज मैं ऐसे 20 यूनिक लोगों को मिलूं, वो 20 लोगों में से शायद एक मेरा कोई कस्टमर हो सकता है, एक कोई कनेक्शन हो सकता है. वही आपको फंडा लिंक्डइन पे लगाना है कि रोज मुझे 10 से 20 लोगों से कनेक्ट करना है जो मेरे लिए पोटेंशियल कस्टमर्स हो सकते हैं. एंड द थर्ड थिंग यू कैन डू इज हाउ यू आर नर्चरिंग दोज कनेक्शंस. So you start writing a little bit of heartfelt content, start sharing a lot more of your work that you're doing, and also on personal messaging on LinkedIn, start conversations. Okay, so for example, if I saw Jashan and I see that he's doing something new, say, hey, hi Jashan, happy to reconnect with you. You're doing some good work. What's the latest which is happening when it comes to root canal treatments? Start conversations just like you would do offline, do like a one-to-one meeting, but do it one-to-one online on LinkedIn. So just do these three things diligently. And over a period of time, you will start realizing you also have a service page on LinkedIn. So people can actually send you service requests also. You will start then booking slots. Maybe it is for training or teaching or consultancy or, actually getting patients through your page. I'm saying specifically for you, but for other professionals also, you'll start receiving a lot of inbound inquiries. So LinkedIn, you do outbound and start getting this request inbound that way.
So, Preeti, again, taking the head from your last messages that you gave to us, I see that you are very much focused कि भाई organic ही होना चाहिए. So, there are people who are biased toward paid ads and they burn a lot of money and then they realize, but you are cleanly straightforward, पहले से ही sure कि organic growth होना चाहिए. Why so?
Honestly, I'm not biased towards paid ads but what I feel is that when we start our business, first and foremost, be realistic. We are a small or a medium business, and we should ideally make sure that we are very frugal in our expenses in the beginning because that's how businesses grow. और डिजिटल मार्केटिंग एक ऐसा कुआं है जहां आप जितना कूदते जाओगे बस घुसते ही जाओगे, ऐसा है. So initially, when you are actually, how does the process work in digital marketing is that you have to build visibility. In the visibility phase, certainly you don't need to do any kind of paid marketing. Good organic content will give you better reach, more loyal followers compared to a paid marketing. Paid marketing gives you quick results, no doubt. But these are not results who are going to be loyal to you. These are not staying connected. They are not sometimes even genuine. What you need to do if you do want to do paid marketing, okay, you will reach a stage in your business after you have done enough organic marketing where you feel yaar abhi we've reached the ceiling, iske aage abhi kuch ho nahi raha hai. हाँ, तो you need to actually move away from that point. तो उस stage पे paid marketing works. But there's always a but when it comes to paid marketing, that you need to be very good with your paid marketing. Find an agency who understands clearly what your business is. Okay, first and foremost, I would say never do it yourself. Okay, because you today Meta and YouTube and LinkedIn, all the algorithms are changing by the minute.
So true.
So how your job, you're not an expert. You're an expert in whatever profession you're doing.
Correct.
If you're a financial advisor, you're a dentist, you're a beautician, you are a real estate consultant, that's your domain. So stay to that. Find people who work in that domain who really do that job well. Do a small trial.
Okay.
Don't start putting in money for big campaigns. Do small campaigns. Look at the data. I think the best part about digital marketing, paid marketing, is that you start getting a lot of data. Who are actually seeing your ads? Okay, how are people responding to what your CTAs are? What is getting you more conversions? Based on that data, then do strategy. Paid marketing without strategy, without a goal in mind, without doing the testing in terms of different audiences, is not going to get you results. So organic marketing, always good, always the best way to do it. But after a point, if you want to really grow, and if you have clarity that okay, putting that money into a paid marketing campaign will get you results, then look at all these points and make sure that you have that focus and crystal clear clarity, and then start investing. Again, everything has to tie up to your business goal. It
Correct.
cannot be that you are randomly कुछ तुमने अपना बजट प्लानिंग करो, बजट डिसाइड करो, और कुछ ऐसा इफेक्टिव कैंपेन करो जिससे तुम एक सेल्स फनल बिल्ड कर सको, और ऐसे बंदे को वो काम दो जिसने उस किया है, उसे पता है, उसके साथ भी थोड़ा सा ट्रायल करके कम अप विद सम कंक्लूजन्स. कीप एन आई ऑन इट. आप किसी को काम दे रहे हो तो आपको पूरी जानकारी होना जरूरी नहीं है, बट यू शुड एटलीस्ट नो हाउ थिंग्स आर गोइंग. If you don't know about it, learn not to implement it yourself, learn to get it implemented from somebody. Yeah. So yes, that's my view as far as organic and paid marketing is concerned.
So Preeti, then organic ads दोनों चीज कैसे मिक्स कर दिया मैंने. तो ऑर्गेनिक ग्रोथ करते करते, पेड एड्स करते करते, हाउ डिड you land up with this opportunity of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Fellowship?
I think there's this saying that I always go by, that be mindful what you wish for, sometimes it might actually come true. And kind of felt like a dream come true for me only, because see, when you're working in corporate nutrition, you have this opportunity to, there is a mandate that you have to complete these many hours of training. You get peer feedback, you have your seniors, you have your juniors, you have other departmental heads, you're interacting and constantly you're getting feedback on what you're doing. Entrepreneurship, a very lonely journey. Okay, with your employees, you can't be friends. You have to get work done from them. So it's a very professional relationship. You go back home and you talk about your business. They don't understand the nuances of the business, and sometimes it might, while they might give a very sincere, honest, intentional feedback to you, it doesn't work in that format. So you need really somebody who will give you a reality check of what's happening outside in the world. And you get so busy in just managing and growing your business that somewhere that growth or learning as an entrepreneur is accidental. कि चलो ये गलती हो गया, ये सीख गए, अभी ये आगे नहीं करना है. But Goldman Sachs was one opportunity where we were told to shut down what we were doing, sit in a university campus and listen to professors who are giving us real time examples of what happens in businesses and making us think to pivot. So I don't know how it landed in my inbox. I saw something online and I just clicked and I applied for it, and they sent me a mail saying that you need to have certain credentials. So for all those who are watching this podcast, especially women, I would say that please go on this site of Goldman Sachs in India. They run it through ISB and IIM. It's a fully paid program for women entrepreneurs. It is really fantastic, honestly. And I think they make you go through all the aspects of your business, which is finance, production, quality management, manpower management, digital marketing, every aspect of your business. They have the best of the best professors who will train you, teach you, and you get a forum to also meet other entrepreneurs. So in the first batch of Goldman Sachs, which I did in IIM Bangalore, I had around 100 of other women along with me. And you start talking about your problem and say, yeah, even I face this problem. And this is what I did, and this is what helped me. So one is the network of other business women entrepreneurs. a woman's journey into entrepreneurship itself has so many challenges. You have to balance between home and work and expectations from people around you, how people view you as a business owner. I've had employees who are men who wouldn't take any orders from me, and they said, no woman boss can talk to me like this, I'm quitting. I said, please go. This is the reality. I am a woman and I'm your boss, and this is how it's going to be. Okay, so 1 week of shutting down everything, it feels unreal. Let me tell you. The first day in the classroom,
Actually, shutting down.
yeah, in the classroom, you're not allowed to access phones, you're not allowed to do anything. Almost 4 hours of classroom interactions with learned people. Wisdom is just flowing. You become like a sponge trying to grab and absorb everything that's coming your way. And when you pause and to learn and to do this, your mind just shifts. There's something that drastically happens, and you start thinking, what happened to that girl who started that business with so much enthusiasm and today is just doing firefighting? Why did that journey change? I had so many ideas. Why did I just put that somewhere away, or how did I forget about it? So it gives you that new motivation to do something. It makes you look at your business and understand what are the new challenges in the market and to pivot to that. So I got that opportunity because obviously my business has done well. There's a certain criteria in terms of revenue, in terms of the years of experience you have, in terms of the presence you have, and they do take a full interview. They ask you certain questions. They want to know that genuinely you're running this business. It's not just that a hoax. Okay. And once you reach there, it is not that you're learning and you're coming back. It's a 3-month program. It's a residential program. So you keep going back for a week every month. And then you have to submit your program. At the end of it, what was your learning? How did you implement? What was the impact? And you have to do a presentation, and people actually certify you only if you've been able to do it. So doing digital marketing, but doing it well, trying to control cost, doing the technology implementation in your business, however small you are, understanding the importance of building a database of your customers and building a customer loyalty program. How do you manage your team members, especially if they are, not professionals, they are basically workers. And how do you maintain? Are you actually making money? The most shocking thing was that, Jashan, that you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs today and you ask them, are you making money? They don't know what their outgoing is. Correct. They don't know what their profit is. That actual methodology of calculating your revenues, tracking your cost, thinking of how you can reduce costs. These are the kind of things that make you shift and make you realize that. And programs like this give you that opportunity. So the first program that I went in IIM was all about that. Then they had a follow-up program, which was in ISB, which was in Delhi. That was a completely different experience. There, it is all about inward. How are you growing as an entrepreneur? Are you handling the kind of pressures, or are you just sabotaging yourself in the whole career aspiration? What are you doing about mindfulness? Are you learning and enjoying what you're doing? That was my learning from the second program. So again, the camaraderie of women entrepreneurs and the friendships that I've built there, lifelong. It is really beautiful. Again, networking being the one of the things that I picked up from those programs there. So I highly recommend women entrepreneurs aspire to be part of this program. Please apply for it, go for it. And if I get an opportunity again, I'll certainly go for it again, because it's like a vacation to learn, it's like a vacation to grow, and it's like a vacation to rejuvenate as an entrepreneur. It's fantastic.
And I'm sure if you go do it the second time as well, you're going to learn pretty much different things and in a different way, and as compared to the first time.
Totally, absolutely.
So now, when you speak about the changes that happened and when you talked about your mind, I would want to understand what was that one mindset shift that happened to you after this fellowship.
I always joke about it with my team members and my family members that everybody watches तारक मेहता का उल्टा चश्मा, और उसमें जो जेठालाल रहता है उसको रोज सवेरे उठ के कुछ ना कुछ तकलीफ आ रहा है. So we are all जेठालाल्स. Let's accept it. Okay, life is that. आने वाले हैं तकलीफ, और एक दिन हमारा वेंडर टाइम से डिलीवरी नहीं देगा, तो एक दिन स्टाफ गायब हो जाएगा, एक दिन एक कस्टमर फॉर नो रीजन आपको परेशान करेगा, एक ये सब, these are part and parcel of our business life. I think nobody, I feel that the easiest thing to do is start a business. The most difficult thing is to sustain that business. Sustenance requires a mind shift of acceptance that problems are part and parcel of the business that you have. Okay, anticipate those and try to build in your head the flexibility to quickly switch from negative ideas and to stay committed, disciplined, and looking at not shifting your focus from what you want to do. That mind shift happens. I think it's a lot to do with age also, in terms of the maturity, and also learning through the journey of these programs that we attend, that business hurdles are a part and parcel. You have to go and grow beyond it, learn to accept it, and learn to imbibe what is quickly that is happening. You, if you are going to say, nay, I'm not going to change, I'm going to sit here and do things the way I've been doing, it's easy, it's comfortable. Yeah, and I'll tell you one example here. Okay, my team used to manage my entire billing system through natural bill books and WhatsApp messages. When a CRM software was introduced, they were very hesitant. Ma'am, हमको नहीं आता है computer चलाना. I don't know how to type. I don't need to know. And customer doesn't give their phone numbers. And customers are very hesitant to. First few weeks, they faced all these problems. I stood there, and 2-3 days I did it with them, gave them the confidence they can do it. Now no customer walks out without sharing their information, because we have to provide a bill. Now the acceptance of technology in your team, you can get the best of the software, Jashan, but if your team doesn't use it, you don't use it, koi fayda nahi hai. So learning the digital transformation process, even as small as connecting this data and looking at that data and making sure that we are talking to customers in a very different way, all these small things were parts, and causing the mind shift in my way I was doing the business. And when you start doing all these things, these small victories, they make you feel happy. That keeps you going. Appreciating the advisors or my team members for doing these small things also. So changing with time, adapting technology, adapting the fact that hurdles and challenges are part and parcel, and translating it down to your team. There'll be a day when we'll not have too many sales, and my team will come back, ma'am, आज बहुत कम sale हुआ है. They start feeling like, अरे क्या करें? Obviously, jobs are tough these days. They feel that maybe ma'am हमको अभी, she might, everybody's losing jobs. Am I going to lose my job? So reassuring them that good and bad days are how it is. We are going to have, you're not going to come and tell me the day we have Yahoo business saying, ma'am, fantastic business, yeah, maza aa gaya. Do that also. So learn to accept that, this is how things work. That's been my mind shift.
So one that I liked is that acknowledging ourselves and appreciating ourselves is a very important, and you have been doing it rightly, not only for yourself but for your team as well.
I think even if you don't do it for yourself, it's fine. Do it for your team for sure, I would say. And your family members, okay? They are also your team members. Like I said, their contribution is more in supporting you to grow. So both ways, yes, true, very true.
Moving from Goldman to TEDx, what was your talk about? And आपको ऐसा क्यों लगा कि I want to speak about this idea at TEDx?
TEDx was again an opportunity, because obviously I know that since I was a kid in school, I could speak well. And I always felt that people have to focus on what their positive skills and try to leverage that. So I always was having this goal that I want to do a TED talk. And then came, like you said, ki kaise, how do you narrow down to what you speak? And I was turning 50. And there's this something that happens like a chemical locha in your brain when you turn 50 and you start thinking, you start reflecting on everything around you. And I was looking at my career journey, where I used to work in a BPO, doing night shifts, to my entrepreneurship journey, how struggle was and all. And then I said, what is it that gives me happiness? That's the question that came back to me. And I think everybody needs to ask that question. You'll find that you'll get an applause at every stage of your life. If you are a go-getter, if you are working hard. But after that applause, no, there comes that dip where you start feeling, what is it after this applause? You're just going from one goal to the other. You're just, shifting to keep doing and putting these things into your head that okay, abhi mujhe ye achieve karna hai, abhi mujhe wo achieve karna hai. But what happens after that applause, nobody tells you. Okay, you will, and we train our youngsters to think that get up every day in the morning fully charged and that you want to live your life. Sad part is 90% of the times you wake up thinking, oh my god, another day, and what am I supposed to do? How do you handle that boring part of your life, that monotonous part of your life, that part of your life where you feel चलो ये भी कर लिया अभी आगे क्या करना है. I'm feeling uh, dishahin to be saying or something. I'm feeling very demotivated. So my talk was about that people don't really understand the need for celebrating small joys, celebrating when you sit down alone and you talk to yourself. How do you feel? Are you in a position today to sit down by yourself for an hour and feel content, or you feel lost? The best company you can have is yourself. Okay, and what comes after the applause is that time with yourself, where you sit down, you reflect, and you feel that you have not necessary that you have got 10 people speaking positively and applauding it, but the joy of just sitting down. I've actually said this in my talk, the joy of celebrating a quiet breakfast with hot idlis and sambar and your filter coffee, without the phone, without anybody asking you, calling you, just taking the time to enjoy that breakfast in the morning. So for me, those joys now make more sense, make more meaning. And I feel that while throughout your life you're running and you're trying to achieve more goals, it is important for you to also give importance to these little things like the time spent with your family, the time spent with yourself. If you're not comfortable with yourself, you can't be comfortable with anybody else. And you need to find a way to not really attach meaning to everything you're doing with others. Try to find meaning and happiness in what you're doing for yourself. So that was very resonating at that point in time, because I was just turning 50 and my daughter had gone abroad to study and all these things. And therefore, I thought that's the best topic to choose for my TEDx. And it was well received and it felt great to be on that stage to stand and speak. I still have my gratitude to TEDx for giving me that opportunity. It was in Davangere, a beautiful village in Karnataka. So the people there were really amazing also. So, yes, was really a wonderful opportunity.
Coming to that one word that you used over here is gratitude. How important is that word to you? And I see you are full of that thing. It's not that I've just seen it today. I've known you for years, and I've seen ki whatever you do, gratitude is always there in you. And how did you develop this gratitude, and how important is it? Can you please let us know?
I think gratitude as a term or manifestation or all these, creating a positive mindset is all cliched new terms that are coming in. I wouldn't say too cliche too much, but it got its relevance in the last 8 to 10 years. But as children, let's think of it this way. When we used to go down to play, we had friends. We used to come home in the evening. Mummy जब भी दिया करती थी, we used to stand and we used to pray. And at that time, we used to chant a few, shlokas which were taught to us by our parents. And my father would always tell me, look at that diya's flame, okay, and try to concentrate on that and try to think of all the good things that happened to you today. And that one simple routine became an anchor for me throughout my life. And what was I doing in that? Was offering gratitude. So I think what happens to you is that you are manifesting positive vibes into you by showing gratitude. You are not doing others a favor by thanking them. You are actually uh, creating that aura for yourself where you are telling your mind you're happy, you're good, you have got so many things to feel thankful about. So that's just a mindset, or what do you say, my emotions or controlling my thoughts. And I feel that it goes a long way when you create that humility with offering gratitude to other people. People like it, people appreciate that you have been mindful to acknowledge, and that goes a long way in building relationships, and more so with very dear and near ones. If you are not doing it to them, forget about your customers and your teams and other things. Acknowledging people around you is very, very important, I feel. So, whether it is your husband, your child, your mother-in-law, whoever else is living with you, they are all contributing to your life. You can't live in isolation, and the fact that you're affiliated to so many people, if you can't acknowledge that, then that doesn't. Yeah, so it has to become a part of your way of life. It is not something intentionally you do. Do it as a habit. That's how.
And doing it with intention, मतलब वो ऐसा हो गया कि आप जुड़ गए उस चीज से.
Correct.
What you are doing is very pure. It's completely coming out from your soul, and that's the main reason why I got so attached when you use that word gratitude. I also some spark in your eyes. I mean, एक एकदम अलग energy level थी. So that's why I came up with this question. Shift gears again, Preeti, again from Goldman to TED to now your book. When you wrote this book, so discover the golden egg in your nest. I mean, what is this book about? Who is it made for? And why did you think कि भाई अब मुझे book लिखनी है and इस topic पे लिखनी चाहिए?
So, as I told you, during lockdown, I was associated with this group called as the TLC community. Guru Murli Sundaram, he's my mentor. And we were actually training coaches and trainers to write a book. And because I was part of that, I decided, okay, I also can write a book. And the idea of what topic to write on, obviously, something that you have lived yourself, you would like to talk about it. So it is my entire journey of my homepreneurship. I started my cake business from home and then I grew it to a big scale. So this entire book is about how you can start a business from home. Okay, that is the discover the golden egg in your nest. Your nest is your home, and people were in lockdown, and it used to pain me to hear some stories about how they were having financial difficulties, revenue was not there, money was not there, and people were struggling to earn a livelihood. So I felt that women specifically, they have a lot of potential, and they should. I still encourage a lot of women to start their businesses from home. The first chapter itself talks about 50 businesses that you can start from home. And then it tells you step by step how you actually start, how you actually find your first five clients, then how do you grow your business, how do you sustain your business. Those are the things that I talk about. The whole idea was that if this can be a guide to someone who wants to start their business from home, let that be. It's a self-help kind of a book. And it also covers a bit of my journey. So I had to do a little bit of research about what other businesses could be there that people can start. Cake or chocolate business is something, one of the business that I did on my own. But I talk about, if somebody wants to become a content writer, somebody wants to become a stockbroker, or they want to start a salon from home. It is limitless, actually. Even today, I feel that women who are homemakers, they easily have 3 to 4 hours in a day. And like I said in the beginning, you owe it to yourself and to the people around you to share what you have got as a gift. It is for you to identify what is your gift and find a way to monetize it, and to that monetization will actually give you a lot of self confidence, it give you a lot of self respect and the people around you, and you're contributing. So the whole book is about how to start your home based business and how to grow it. That's about.
And I've seen there are many people who are sitting with an idea for a book, but they don't pick up the pen and touch it to the book and start writing. So is it that something? Is there something that you want to tell them which would help them or encourage them to start writing the book?
So, as I told you, as part of this TLC community, first and foremost is that you need an accountability partner when you're writing a book. It really motivates you. So, we used to fix an hour in the morning and just connect on Zoom. Everybody's writing their book. Nobody's talking on that Zoom. It is just that, oh, I have two other people who are writing the book with me. So, that really helped. Plus, you need someone like a guide or a mentor, which TLC was for me, on how to structure your book, how to publish your book. So, you can actually connect with them, they still help you with doing that. And there is you need commitment. Anything that you do in your life, you need discipline. So block that 1 hour when you say this 1 hour in the morning, I'm not doing anything but just writing my book. That really helps.
Preeti, again taking you back to Choco Kids. I've seen that Choco Kids be, as you speak, has grown from or has grown completely organically.
Correct.
So in today's date, how does your funnel or how does your sales funnel look like? Can you please give us an idea about it?
When I went for this Goldman Sachs program, there was a professor who told us about how to look at marketing from a customer loyalty point of view. And he made a very wonderful experiment he did with us. So he says, you are in the center of your business. Closest to your business are the people who have been loyal with you. Then there will be some who are in between, who are kind of made a purchase sometimes. They are not very keen कि every time हमको choco cake से ही लेना है. And there are those people who don't know about choco cakes at all. When we start doing the marketing, we always look at the people who are in the middle and the end. He says, turn it around. Look at your people who are very close to you. Okay, focus on people who have been loyal with you for a long time. You know in your business what's your customer lifetime value and who's been with you for the longest. If you build that fundamental core people, they will automatically attract the rest of the people through referrals, through testimonials, through patronizing. So I realized that I wasn't doing anything to build as a community for these loyal customers. So we started building, having more interactions with our loyal customers, talking to them. I would spend time actually going and delivering the cake to their place if they have been regular, calling up the next day, taking feedback. And because my target audience is kids, I started a YouTube channel where I do videos with these kids, which is really interesting because then they come to my house, they spend time with me, their children are spending time with me. And it's a great experience for the child to do something and for the parent also because the child is becoming the hero. So it works both ways. So focusing currently on my business marketing is more engagement with regular customers. And that is because we introduced the CRM software, which I told you for the last 5-6 years now, we've been doing it successfully. So picking out those customers, talking to them, offering them free deliveries or offering them their child to be participating in our show, giving them more ideas to reduce costs but still get better cakes, giving them those privileges. That's been my existing model. I have started doing a little bit of paid marketing now. That is for my new products. Like for example, I've introduced waffles now. So a few ads for that on Meta. Okay, those kind of things. So idea is keep your loyal customers as close to you. Make sure, and the one thing that has kept me going all throughout, which has helped me to generate this business with zero ad spend, would be the quality commitment. Cost is going up like crazy for all raw materials, labor, electricity, all of those things. But we try to make sure that because we're a live kitchen, we try to make sure that we keep the cakes as fresh as possible. There has to be zero compromise in terms of the system and processes of manufacturing. Very closely monitored, double checking by 2 employees to make sure that we are only offering fresh cakes to our customers. If the customer is unhappy, having a conversation with them rather than being defensive and saying that नहीं भाई मेरे से तो गलती हो ही नहीं सकता होता है every process. Suddenly the weather changes. In summer you will find that what was fresh last night, this morning has got spoiled. So you have to adapt to what is happening. So these are few of the things that has helped me to sustain my business. Focus on quality, focus on your loyal customers, and trying to build a community around my business so that I engage with my uh, audiences in a very meaningful way.
I think this is the second time you spoke about loyalty in this podcast, and आजकल का टाइम ऐसा हो गया है ना प्रीति कि getting loyal customers is very rare. I mean, can you share with the audience what exactly are you doing so that you keep these customers loyal to you?
What I said earlier is that quality is something that you can't compromise on. Okay, if somebody has had a chocolate Dutch truffle pastry in my shop maybe 10 years back, and if they come back and have it today, the taste remains the same. There is no compromise in terms of कि हमने अगर प्राइस बढ़ा दिया है तो उसका क्वालिटी डिटोरेट कर दिया या साइज कम कर दिया. So don't compromise on the quality, don't compromise on the taste. Okay, that is in the food business, those are the important things. If you want your customers to come back to you, make sure that every experience is memorable one. In the sense, when would people order cakes? They'll order cakes for celebrations. It's a once in a year opportunity for you. Don't mess it up. I tell my team also. If it means that you have to take an extra 10 minutes to write their name properly or pack it properly and give it to them, give them instructions on what needs to be done, that is something that is essential. Don't hurry the process of completing the transaction. Take your time, because that means that you are making it a meaningful transaction for them. When they're deciding on a flavor, when they're deciding on a design, see how you can help them, keeping in mind, going into their shoes and thinking कि यार आज अभी इतना बड़ा celebration नहीं हो रहा है, लोग ज़्यादा मीठा नहीं खा रहे, so how can we still continue to cater to their, thinking from their end rather than from our end. And like I told you earlier, having that communication, calling them up, taking feedback, giving them a message which says, "Thank you for ordering a cake with us. We'd like to hear how was your experience." And aim, I tell my team to aim to capture every single detail. That will be visible to your customer. It's not something that goes just in a passe. People will actually notice and say, "Hey, even that little difference you put in the cake, it is noticeable for me." So they like that, and understand the vibe of the customer. Some people are more keen on the design, where some people are more keen on the flavor and having a good cake. So you have to adapt to that, and sometimes they don't know what they want, so help them decide that. These are the things, which I feel at the point of deciding a cake for a celebration, who there are multiple people who will come to decide the cake. For example, if it's a 50th wedding anniversary, let's look at it. The children generally come to book, the parents are there, there'll be probably another family member. Everybody has a certain opinion. The youngster will say red velvet cake is the best, and the parents are shocked. Red velvet khatta cake maine khane wala hu. I don't want cream cheese and things like that. My brothers and sisters are going to come, they are not going to like it. We want black forest, and the youngster is saying cream wala black forest cake, why would I want to go for that? So trying to balance out between everybody and saying that, listen, this is a celebration. Think about the crowd. What will be good where there is not too much cream, at the same time it doesn't sound too outdated. So we come up with new unique flavors that works with all generations. The best part is, Jashan, that we don't add any sugar in any of our cakes. This is a change we brought about, because people don't. I personally don't want to eat a sugary dessert that I eat a piece and I get this sugar rush in my head. I want to go back and have another piece. I don't want to feel the guilt of it. So whatever is being added in the process of our premix or our chocolate or our cream, that is minimal, and that is enough for people. The freshness, the flavor, and the design should not get compromised because of one overpowering flavor. So keeping all these things in mind, it becomes more acceptable to your audience. Teaching your staff to be polite. Customer service is not something that is very common in retail businesses in India. So teaching them, training them to handle customers better, keeping yourself open to criticism is another thing. If somebody criticizes, how you handle that. If you get a complaint, how do you handle that? Because if you get a complaint and you're able to rescue that customer again, that customer will stay with you lifelong. It's like that. Yeah. So these are some of, I think pretty much every business does this. We just make sure that our team is more focused on doing these things on an ongoing basis.
So when you were speaking about all those things, मुंह में पानी आ गया. But let's not focus on that part. Let's focus on the question that I have next for you. You spoke about a CRM as well.
Yes.
So does the CRM also help you in building that loyalty, or do you also use your CRM to have a loyalty program? Is there one at your?
At the moment, I don't have a loyalty program, and but we do have certain advantages that we give to our loyal customers. For example, now in Gurai, we don't do any charges for delivery. We can give you a cake in like 15 minutes. You tell us the flavor, you tell us the quantity, we can make a cake and give it to you immediately. Okay, and you come and tell us that you want a small cake, but you want a little design element on it, like in half kg, 1 kg. For our regular customers, we do make a few changes and are able to adapt to it. Some things are not possible. For example, on a half kg, 1 kg cake, you ask me to do a fondant 3D figure. Well, it is not feasible because cost-wise and effort-wise, it doesn't make sense. But wherever possible we can, we'll give them alternatives. So those kind of things. And this community which we are building of the kids that we have. Once a year, we do some kind of offers and, every month we do an offer for sure. And that is only for our regular customers. So we do, when we introduce waffles, we did 2 waffles for 99 rupees. Every month, first week of the month, we have an offer on pastries or cupcakes or things like that. So these are exclusively not for walk-in customers, but customers who have been with us for a longest time. So the messages go out only to them and only they get advantage for it. That's it.
Again, taking you back to LinkedIn, it has changed in the last 2 years. So, and it's definitely going to change in the next 2 or 4 years as well because changes are happening very fast now. So, what is it that you see that these changes are going to happen in the near future?
I feel that there are some things which will never change about LinkedIn. Let's talk about that. Okay. So, what will not change is that you will still continue to have access to the wide network of people that is there on LinkedIn. It will be an excellent platform for B2B businesses to source potential clients. It is going to be the next best thing that you can do for your personal brand building, because the number of people who have realized that they, when I talk to students also now, even we had our LinkedIn profile after we got into business after 5 years or so. I have students who are creating profiles right when they are in graduation year now. Okay, so more and more people are going to come to LinkedIn. LinkedIn's algorithm is such that it doesn't allow you any nonsense. Okay, for example, I'll tell you that when Ram Mandir was inaugurated, everybody was posting videos about Ram Mandir inauguration on Instagram, and there were ads which were playing and everything. LinkedIn did not promote any one post. Okay, but if you start talking about a new AI tool or something that is happening, you'll see that that post generally gets a lot of views. So the kind of content that LinkedIn is pushing across, please understand that the ownership is different. Meta owns your Facebook and Insta, whereas Microsoft owns your LinkedIn. So you and Microsoft traditionally is a very conservative kind of a company, technology company, and that's their outlook when it comes to that platform as well. They want people to look at it as a platform for thought leadership, for personal brand building, for building a network and growing your business. And that is not going to change. They did try stories, it didn't work. So they stopped it. Okay, they are very quick and prompt in terms of making the changes what are there. What will work on LinkedIn is AV. Audio video formats were not very popular on LinkedIn, but now I see that a lot of people are enjoying seeing that. At the same time, even static image posts are doing well. So, what will work 5 years down the line is if you are able to create authentic content and if you are able to promote it in a very simplistic manner. The more simple you make it, the more LinkedIn is going to promote you.
Mentioned the name of AI as well right now. So आज के टाइम पे तो it's very easy यार 10 सेकंड में एक prompt डालो and AI आपको content बना देगा. So somebody, some professional who wants to keep it very authentic, तो क्या advice है उनके लिए, क्या करना चाहिए?
Use AI as a tool, as an assistant, not as a content creator. You are the content creator. So, in your own words, now that it's become so easy, you can even do voice to text, just record what you feel about a certain thing and try to guide your AI to create content like you. So, what is so unique about your personality? What is your tonality when you write? What's your brand voice? How do you project yourself as a business owner? All those things you should train AI to do it. Don't put a point saying that, okay, I want to create a post on XYZ, give me the content. Okay, so it is actually gathering information. How is AI fed with all the data? With people feeding it. You want AI to create data unique to what you are doing. So for that, you need to train AI to understand what your thoughts are, how you look at situations, how you create content. So I always tell people that first you write it down or you create a voice note, add it on AI, and tell them improvise this for better SEO or better visibility, make it more professional, make it more polished. These are the things, and then keep on iterating on it till you get your final, whatever post you wanted. So use AI. Please don't be shy to use AI, but also don't go mad using AI because there's no end to how many tools you will keep subscribing to. You know, ChatGPT ले लिया, Gemini ले लिया, Claude ले लिया, ये ले लिया, वो ले लिया. So see what is working for you. एक कुछ लो, उसको अच्छे से use करो. दूसरे का free use करो. देखो अगर वो ज़्यादा आपको जम रहा है तो, and be sensible about. There is no end to how much of AI tools that you can keep gathering and you can keep adding in your repository. If you're comfortable using one, trust that tool and use that. Don't try to just keep on changing and switching, because every time you take a new AI tool, you have to train it to your algorithm, so to say. That way. Yeah.
One last question over here would be ki, to the newcomers, to the beginners who are just starting their entrepreneurial journey, female ho ya male ho, be it any business. Before all the titles that come to them, before all the testimonials, just beginning, what would you feel कि अगर ये advice आपको भी मिली होती initial days में और अगर उनको भी मिलेगी तो सही रहेगी?
I think the first and most important advice is look at your customers, your internal customers and your external customers, which means connecting with your team, and also connecting with your external customers. Don't keep your channels of communication low. Let it be at a very high level. The more interactions you have, the more people get to know you. Be genuine, be authentic with them, and the more they will stick to you. Okay. Second thing I would say is that, um, you know, come up with small goals. Every day one goal new that you can do for your business, every week something new that you can do. Keep that time to think. I call that my TTT time. It's time to think. Set aside that time for yourself and say that in this 10-15 minutes or half an hour, I'm only think of one new thing that I want to introduce. I've been pending for a long time, I've not done it. Okay, so that is another thing that I will say. And the third thing is, expect that you're going to have challenges. Be mentally prepared for it. Life is going to be boring, life is going to have problems, but don't expect that magically they're going to vanish and you're going to have some pill and suddenly start feeling all high energy. Just find your own ways to keep up your momentum and staying consistent. If it means that going for a walk every day where you disconnect from your phone and you're doing something for yourself, or going to the gym, or listening to music, or spending that time with your family member, disconnected from everything. So you have to find ways to re-energize yourself, and don't ignore yourself. I think the most important thing is your business, your family, your client, and everything starts with you. If you're able to commit and find peace and happiness within yourself, everything else falls into place automatically. So, I'm on LinkedIn as Connect Coach Preeti, and Choco Kids is my brand for my cake shop. Um, I think that is pretty much. My phone number is widely shared everywhere, so you just have to Google and you'll find it. I want to thank you personally, Jashan, for remembering me and inviting me here. So thank you, Jashan. I feel honored that you gave me an opportunity to be part of this podcast. You've been my dentist for the longest time, and I appreciate the pain-free treatments that I've got from you, and I'll continue to patronize that. And if people want to find me, they can find me on LinkedIn as Coach Preeti. My brand name for my cake shop is Choco Cakes. If anybody is looking for even pro bono mentorship, any woman entrepreneur looking to start a business or something, please reach out to me. I'd like to help. I truly believe that if there's even 1% difference I can make in somebody's life, it is really required. A lot of people feel that they don't know where to get the answers. I would like to be some help to anyone that can reach out. Thank you so much.